We are just going to go over how I did that classic look that I posted earlier. So to me, when I'm thinking like classy and traditional, I always think of like a smoldering eye and a bright red lip. So that's the look I went for today. And it's actually fairly easy. The most difficult part, in my opinion, is going to be the red lip because it's so hard to get. Red is such a prominent color. So if you like stray, there's no room for error. So you have to be so precise, which is why almost always I recommend using a very teeny itty bitty little defined brush. I almost will never just simply apply with the actual wand because it just like gets everywhere and then you look like the Joker and it's not cool. But getting right into this, I have already put a lip balm on and I have prepped my skin, which means it is hydrated, it has been primed, and we are ready to go. So the products I'll be using, I will try and remember to tell you what I'm using as I'm using it. Hi, Lauren. All right, so for foundation, just for now, because I am actually in between colors and I'm waiting on my, usually I work out of my Saint palette because I like my cream makeup. It just works better for my face. And it also helps to not enhance like any lines or texture that I have. But I am not going to be using the Saint cream makeup for this because I am out of the color that I need. And I am switching up. My makeup was kind of like flaking and I could see like patchiness. And I know that my skin is hydrated and I know that I was using moisturizer. So I was like, okay, well, my makeup's not expired. So I just, figured out I had actually shaded up even though we're like pretty far into summer. If your makeup isn't sitting well on your skin, a lot of times it might, if you know your skin's in good condition, it's probably you need to like shade up. Usually that's the case when your makeup is like looking a little patchy. And that's a whole different story if it's looking patchy like 5 hours after you apply it. That's a hydration issue. I'm talking about like when you apply it and it's like separating on your face as it's going on, you probably have the wrong color and it's probably way too light. All right, so I am going to use this. I love this guy, Born This Way. And I believe this is a Swan. Yes, it is Swan. And I have a damp beauty blender. Quick word on beauty blenders. Look for the marshmallowy, like poofy, it literally is like marshmallow foam. Look for those kind of beauty blenders. I have like 5 from Saint because it's my favorite texture. I did find this one, which is exactly the same texture, and obviously it needs to be replaced because, I use them a lot. And they separate, but not all beauty blenders are equal. I cannot for the life of me remember what brand this is. I think it might be e.l.f. But go for the marshmallowy soft. It applies your makeup so much better than those porous kind of almost gritty ones, which tend to be like the common ones out on the shelves right now. But anyway, I'm going to put my foundation on. So I don't squirt foundation straight on my face because I've realized that I use too much product. What I'm going to do is just kind of like barely put like that much damp beauty blender, otherwise it's going to soak your makeup up. Start in the middle of your face because that's where most of us tend to get like pigmentation and discoloration and redness. You don't need much coverage on the outside of your face, and I like to use as minimal of product as possible just to give it like a nice polished look but not anything too cakey or heavy. So I'm just patting this in, making sure it's nice and smooth. And then I'm gonna do the other side. Same thing, just a little bit of product, don't need much. And I like to just go in a line down and then I just carry it out. Now, when I'm using my 3D foundation from Saint, I won't cover these areas because you don't need to layer Saint makeup. But because I'm using liquid foundation and concealer, I do need to put a layer around my nose and my mouth because the texture and formula in most concealers, it doesn't sit well on your skin. It sits better on top of a foundation. So just a tip there. I've noticed that it just looks really textured and terrible if I don't put something underneath the concealer first. And then I use very, very, very little product on my forehead because I really don't have much pigmentation there. And I will usually just carry that straight down and hit the corners of my nose where I tend to have a little bit more redness. I don't really take much product in on my under eyes either because I am gonna be 31 soon and I have fine lines under there and we're not trying to highlight those. And the more product you place directly under your eye, you're just highlighting any texture you might have there and you're gonna make yourself look older unnecessarily. Okay, so I have no product on this. I'm just kind of flipping it over to a cleaner side and I'm gonna go over everything again just to make sure it's nice and smooth. All right, and then for my contour, I'm using a blue toned red. I have neutral skin, so I can go between warm and cool colors, but this is a blue toned red. If you need to use like a more warm toned, orange toned red, go for it. But I'm gonna stick with the cool tones, so I'm going for a cool contour. This is part of the Saint line. I'm gonna be using Shadow, which is like my favorite go-to for contour, and it's cream, so this is my brush from Saint. I usually do my foundation if I'm using cream makeup with this side. This is my contour side. So I'm just like tapping into this and that's it. And I'll show you how pigmented this comes out with just that one little tap. So I'm starting at the top of my ear. So you saw how like very little product you need. This makeup lasts forever. It comes in a tiny little tin, but it lasts forever because it's so freaking pigmented. So I'm gonna do that. I'll do the same thing. I actually picked up a little too much there. But for me, I'm not going to come in too far here because as I blend out, it will it makes my face too angular. But if you have a round face, feel free to bring your contour in a little bit further just to really enhance those cheekbones. And then with making sure there's no extra product on there so I don't make everything look too ashy in places that I don't want it to look contoured, I'm just going to go ahead, flip the brush over, because I feel like that's a little too low. And then I'm going to push it back up. And I'm not going to over blend this because when I go in with my blush, it will blend this harsh line on top out. And if I blend that out and then go back in and blend the blush on top of it, it'll just completely disappear. All right, so I'm going to go in for eyebrows. I am going to fill them in with an eyeshadow because I want a softer, more natural look. My eyes and my lips will be intense enough, so I don't want to overdo it on my brows. Let me just open up my pad here. And I'm going to be going in with the color, for me, Trust works best. This is from Saint eyeshadows. They're huge. Your standard eyeshadow tins, like from bigger beauty brands out there, are usually about 1.5 ounces, and these I believe are 2.5, and they're $14 a piece, I believe. So it's actually a pretty good deal. All right, so brushing the eyebrows up and out. Unless you have some beautiful exotic genes, everybody could do to fill their eyebrows a little bit. My hair tends to, I do have eyebrow right here, but it's like white blonde, so you can't see it. So I go in and define my arch, and then I extend my tail a little bit. So I'm just going to follow the natural shape of my eyebrow here. And I trace the bottom in a solid line. And extend that tail out. And then I will pull from that color up so that it gradually lightens. And this gives it more of a natural feel to it, like an ombre type effect. But then I will go and really define that top line as well. And then basically just fill everything in. And then for the front of my brow, I don't like any product on here. I will mainly just kind of pull the product that I already have over here into there so it's not blocked off and it looks pretty natural. I like to fade the front of my brow because I don't like that blocky eyebrow look. And it's as easy as that. But see the difference? Brows really do make your face. They really do. On the days where I don't really wear much makeup, that's what I do. I do my brows and I put some mascara on, and it's like polished enough to go. All right, so that baseline. And then just pulling up and filling in, and then do the top portion. Just kind of straighten this out a little bit. That's another great thing about using eyeshadow, is it's very forgiving. You can just go in and correct it. All right, and then, like I said, I don't like to block off the front of my brow. I'm just kind of taking whatever pigment is left in my brush from this other side as well and going through that. And as you can see, like my eyebrows, this side, higher arch and a more defined angle, but I'm not going to change that. Your eyebrows are not supposed to look exactly the same. I'm pretty sure a lot of you have heard that before. The term, like, they're supposed to be sisters, not twins. Stick with that. It looks so much better. All right, so eyebrows are done. I did my contour. I'm going to go in and, excuse me, I'm actually going to use this as my concealer because it pretty much is like, it's an eyeshadow base from P. Louise, but it works wonderful as a concealer as well. You don't need a lot because it's like really, really pigmented. And I'm going to use one of my Jeffree Star brushes, so something flat. And I'm just going to actually squirt it directly on the brush. And I'm going to use this not just to like prime my eyes for my eyeshadow that I'm going to put on next, but I'm also going to use this as a concealer around my face. Because right now, the concealer shade that I was using, like I said, I've changed shades for the summer, so I don't have anything that matches very well, but this is the closest I could come. So I am basically just going to dot that little bit of product I had right here. When it comes to concealer, less is more. The more you put, it's going to start looking like flaky and gross. If you ever see those like beauty gurus that still do that, like they slather it underneath their eyes, they're doing it for the camera. It doesn't look that good in real life, I promise. It looks really bad. And then I will take my sponge and distribute this. See how like it brightens, and all I did was use a small little line. You don't need a lot of concealer. One, it's wasting product, and two, it doesn't even look good. All right. So we're just brightening. Notice how I didn't take that concealer in here where all those fine lines are. You don't need it. I mean, obviously, if you have like heavy dark circles, take like I don't even know what size to tell you, not even a pea size, it's so much. Like a tiny, tiny little spot right where this dark circle is. I know it looks like you might have a dark circle down here, but it's usually just like the shadow being cast. So if you need to conceal dark circles, you actually have them. Just put a dot here and a dot here, and then slowly blend it downwards. Don't blend it into those lines underneath your eye. You don't want to enhance that area. All right, now I'm going to go for my actual lid. And this is basically just going to get rid of all the purple, all the veins, any red pigmentation, and it just gives you a nice clean canvas to start with for your eyeshadow. Let me get the other side. And we will really zoom through the eyeshadow portion of this because it's super simple. I find it hilarious that the smoky eye look is so coveted and everyone thinks it's like super difficult, but it's not. It's like one of the easiest looks. One, because you can be messy. All right, so now that I've got that where I want it, I like to smooth it out with my sponge because no matter how long I go with that brush, it never gives me like a flawless finish. I love my beauty blenders. They're perfect for these creamy consistencies. Okay. And then I kind of have to like pull my eye out here, just very, very gently, because I have like really hooded eyes in here, and my beauty blender sponge does not get in there, and I always have a line. And then as for setting, I always take a super, super, super fluffy brush, and I'm just going to take, I'm almost out, this is Cupcake. It's just pretty much a colorless eyeshadow, and I set with that because I have hooded eyes and I have a lot of creasing. And then I will also, let me just do this now before I forget, blend what very, 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 very little product I have under my eyes, and I will set very lightly there as well. Same rule of thumb with your setting, whether you use eyeshadow or setting powder. If you pack on, like, I'm not a fan of baking. Unless you have some really greasy, oily skin, baking is gonna look so terrible on your eyes. It might look good right off the bat, but do a few blinks and go out into the sun, sweat a little, and you're going to have some major texture. And once again, it's going to age you significantly. I take the littlest amount of product, powder, and stick it under my eyes. I'm very careful with how much I place under my eyes. Okay, so to start with a smoky eye, I go from lightest to dark, and we're moving in a downward motion. So I'm going to take this guy right here. He's called Basic, very taupey kind of color, very cool. And this is going to be my transition color. And this is going to be in the crease, and then also a little bit above. So the biggest part for a smoky eye, you need the color to smoke up. So you want it to be concentrated down here and then fade in a smoky kind of like ombre. Once again, we're going for ombre. So when you look at a picture, you see that they have like these pretty colors that are going up. So people always try and place like their color right up here. But then when you go to blend, like you lose the smokiness, and you're also running out of room. So always place the color lower than where you want it to be. Pack it in there first, like get the color everywhere. And then once you've got it like as dark as you want it, now you're going to blend it upwards. And always hold your brush down at the bottom for a better blend. Because as you're blending, the color is going to smoke upwards, but it'll stay more concentrated down here. A lot of times that's why people have really messy smoky eyes, because they just apply the product way too high. So once again, just like I'm sticking it right in my socket pretty much. And now I'm just going to blend outward. Oh, and in case you're not familiar with what brush to use, this is just a very fluffy tapered brush. It's always perfect for getting that first color on. Okay, so now I have that super light taupey brown color where I want it. Make sure everything's super well blended and your colors are even. Now I'm going to go in with a shade darker, and I would usually go in with Oak, which I don't have on hand, so I'm going to, let's see. Can I use this color? I can. Okay, so I'm going into, this is just my Smashbox palette, and right off the bat, I have no idea what this color is called because all the labels are gone. But we're going in with, it's a little bit more warm toned. So it's this color here. So it's more pigmented and more warm toned. I like to use at least one warm tone color in my smoky eye. I don't know, I usually try and stick to either cool tones or warm tones. But with a smoky eye, just having a kind of like, almost like a terracotta or an orange toned brown in there, it just really looks pretty. So I need to be more precise with this. So instead of getting this color all over my brush, I'm only putting it on the lower end. So like this lower half, no pigment up here because I need to go lower than this color. But we are going to place it where we place that other color, right in the eye socket, just a smidge lower. And don't take it all the way in like you did with the first color either. Only like stop midway. I need to set that palette down. I need my other. Okay. And then I'm going to take this, do the same thing. I didn't dip back into the palette because the Smashbox shadows are really pigmented. They're really good quality. Okay, so now we're basically focusing on like defining the actual eye socket area instead of like using a transition color. So now I'm going to blend this one up and out as well. And I am not blending on where I place this. I'm just blending the borders where those two colors meet so that they slowly, subtly transition into each other. And if you're curious, like, I know I don't usually usually, and when you watch a tutorial, people put their foundation on and then their contour and then their blush and all their other stuff, and then they do their eyes, or they do their eyes first and then go afterwards. But I kind of cater my system to myself. I don't have any fallout when I use my Saint eyeshadows. There's not a whole lot of fallout. So I like to do my foundation first, because when I do my eyes first with a smoky eye, it just looks too intense, so I tend to make the smoky eye a lot lighter than I naturally would want it to be. So I like to put my foundation on first and then go do my smoky eye and kind of like balance it out that way. But that's just me. Like makeup, you kind of have to cater your style to like the way your brain functions. All right, and that's deep enough for me. Now I'm going to go into an even darker color, and it's the same color I used on my brows. So this is called Trust. I'm going to flip my eyeshadow brush. This is from Saint as well. So this was the fluffy end I was using to blend. Now I need precision, so I'm going to use the smaller end. And I'm going to cover the outer third, but also kind of like cut it in, not to the halfway point, kind of like stopping right under my arch almost, like where my arch begins. And you can just make a backward 7 and fill it in. So I'll show you what I mean by backward 7. So we're going to kind of lean in here a little bit so you can see. So there's the stem, so to speak, of the 7. And then just cut it in. But not too far in. Just like that. Backward 7. And then like kind of pull that color in towards your inner corner and fill it in. So that's like the outer third of my eye. Now I'm just going to go in and blend it very, very carefully, like small little circular motions. I'm not doing any sweeping harsh motions because I don't want this color to go too far up. I want to keep it pretty low. So I'm just moving the brush in circles, not really going anywhere. Like wiggle back and forth, circular, wiggle back and forth, just until that like harsh line disappears. And then that's creating that smokiness. But my eye dips here, so I need to fill that in a little bit more. That's why it's good to open your eye and look at what you're doing as you go. Especially if you have hooded eyes like me, because application can be a little bit trickier. All right, now let's get this other side. Okay, go ahead and blend. Also, another tip for a smoky eye. I know I said it before, but it's very important, even especially with a smoky eye, to hold your brush as low as possible. The closer you get a more harsh, not harsh blend. I guess like it doesn't blend as well, and the further you hold your brush away from the end that you're using, it's a softer blend, and it is like key to getting that smokiness. Okay, so now that I've got that dark brown, now we're going to get into the black. The black I like to use, I'm not using a shadow, I'm actually using a cream, or you can feel free to use like anything of a cream consistency, or take, where is that pen I had? Just like a black liner. Anything you can smudge. Let's just make it simple, easy. But I'm going to apply it with a very precise brush. This is my smudge brush from Sigma. And it's really flat and precise. Black can get messy and out of control real fast, but the reason I like to use a cream is because I like to smudge this part. And black eyeshadow is just not dark enough for me when it comes to a more dramatic smoky eye. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm only going to get this. I'm going to pull it tight against my lash line. And then I'm going to carry it out almost like a liner. It doesn't need to be pretty either because you're smudging it. Just get it on there. And then kind of like thin out the line as you come in a little bit further. And then we'll get the other side. Stay close to the lash line. Let me turn my eye a little bit more here. Basically just creating, oh, I might have gone a little too high there. Whatever, we'll figure it out. Okay, so now that I have that, I'm gonna go in with that smaller end of my eyeshadow brush from Saint, and I'm going to smudge this outwards, not inwards. I kind of like, I'll push it out, but also pull it back in because I don't want it to go too far out. But this is just creating more depth to the smokiness as you go closer to your lash line. And it really like dramatifies, that's not even a word. It makes it more dramatic. So I like to put that black in there, but I don't like to put black too far inwards or too far up because I feel like that's what, especially for pale complected people like me, that's what gives you that raccoon look. Now for my inner corners, don't worry that this looks messy because we're going to go back in with a shimmer, which is what we're doing now. Now you need something fluffy but flat. So this is one of my Jeffree Star brushes. It is, here I'll show you the difference. So this is what, this is like a super thin, precise brush, but this has more fluff to it. I'm going to spray this with setting spray because if you have a damp brush, not wet or soaking, just damp, I just spray it once. And I'm going to dip into this color. You're not on this side. Where are you? Oh, here it is. Sabrina. So this is another one of my Saint eyeshadows. She's got some subtle pigments of, I don't know if you can see it, but a little bit of shimmer, not too much. Because I don't want to draw too much away from the smokiness. So I'm going to take Sabrina and I'm going to stick her on that damp brush. And the reason I use a damp brush is because the shimmer is very subtle. And I want it to be a little bit more enhanced. Your shimmer will always be enhanced if you dampen your brush before applying it. And this is going in my inner corner. And this is just going to make it look a lot brighter, and it's going to make all that smokiness look a lot more dramatic. And you can see the difference. It just kind of, it's just a little bit of pop. Small little touches make all the difference. I wish I could like, I'm not one of those talented people that can like close one eye and open the other and then do it on the same side or on the opposite side as well. So I always look like retarded owl when I'm trying to do this eye. Alrighty. And then I am blending that brightening color into that smoky area, and that's why I didn't really care that it was kind of harsh on the inner part because we're smoking those together. And then I'm going to take the small end, making sure there's no dark colors on it, of that eyeshadow brush, and I'm going to just kind of blend this line up into that. And then that's the top portion. That was pretty easy. That's the smoky eye. Now, fine little details. Obviously the under eye. So I'm going to, I'm not going to use the lightest transition shade that I had before. I'm going to go to the next color in depth, which was from that Smashbox palette. So I'm going to dip into that. And I'm going to drag that underneath, pushing up into my lash line so it doesn't come down too low. So you can take that color down there. And push it into your lashes. And then for the actual smoking part, I'm using this fluffy brush. And always, like, when you're smoking a dark color, move outwards. We're leaving this inner corner alone because we're keeping that bright. Now I'm going into Coal, which was the next darkest color. Not quite black, it's like a brownish black. And that I'm not going to take further than midway on my eye. And we're just going to get darker as we move to this outer corner. So I've just tapped it into place. And now I'm smoking it up into the colors here so that they all just kind of like meld together. And then for the black, I won't use a cream down here because I have more lines and cream's gonna crease and I don't wanna set my eyeshadow. So I am gonna go in with my color Salem, which is in my palette here somewhere. So Salem is black as well, obviously, hence the name, but it is a powder eyeshadow and not a cream. I don't like to use creams on my bottom lash line. It doesn't work out well for me. And that's just going on the outer corner. I'm not taking that underneath my eye at all. I've got that. Smoke that in as well and make sure it blends up all into this. And as long, you just gonna look at your eyes, and if you see any harsh lines, go back in and blend over them and just blend until it looks all in unison. Blending is the key to a smoky eye, actually any eye, but mostly a smoky eye. You don't want any like distinction between the transition of colors. So there's that. Now we're going to highlight the brow bone and the inner corners to make sure that we are nice and bright. And I'm going to use something a little bit more shimmery than I would with that of my lid color. This is called Eggnog. This is also from Saint. Same exact shade as Sabrina. It's just got more shimmer to it. And it's a lot more intense. So I'm going to get a good amount of that on the tip of my brush. We're going to stick that right there. And it basically just has all these reflectors and it catches the light that you can see. And it makes everything just lift and look a lot brighter. So it goes from dull to shimmer. And then we're doing the same thing on this inner corner. Here, let me turn, maybe, yeah, you can see it better if I turn. So that shimmer is going on the inner corner to really open up the eye, because all these dark colors can tend to close it off. Okay, so now that I have the eye done, I'm gonna go ahead and I think one of my children took my lash curler. Yes, they did. Those little turds. Okay, well, we're not curling our lashes. I guess we're just using mascara. So I'm just going to go ahead and put this on because it does make a huge difference with the eye look. You can further enhance this look. I did it earlier, but I don't want to do it right now because I'm going to take this off in 2 seconds. But a wing looks really pretty with this look. I just did a small wing. Feel free to go more intense. And for anybody with smaller or hooded eyes like me, focus your mascara just on the outer portion. Because when you take your mascara in, yeah, you're lifting your lashes there, but you're closing up your eye more. So I tend to place like a thick layer of mascara on my outer corner. And it gives your eyes like this lifted, opened up look because there's nothing dark in here, not even your mascara, and it's all out here going upwards. So if your eyes tend to look small when you place dark colors on them or when you put mascara on, don't hit your inner lashes or just barely touch them up. Like I'll just go over a little bit, but I focus all my thick layers and darkening just on this outer portion. And it really just makes a huge difference. Okay, so now that I'm done with mascara, if you have smaller eyes, I wouldn't recommend filling your waterline with a liner pencil, a gel liner. I do because I have like pretty wide eyes and it doesn't close my eyes off. If you do have smaller eyes, use a flesh colored pencil in here and it really like extends. It looks like your eye is bigger. Maybe not so much white. I prefer to use flesh colored over white in my waterline. All right, so there's the eyes. Now I'm going to finish all this up. I'm going to go in with, so we did the contour. Oh, how about we do our blush color? So I like to do something super neutral. Whatever your natural flush looks like without makeup is kind of the color you want to go for because we want the focus to be the eyes and the lips. So for me, what am I going to use? Probably going to use this guy here because he's cool toned and he matches my flush pretty closely. This is Sadie. Yes, this is Sadie. Cream blush. Once again, don't need a lot. I'm literally going to tap in twice. And for me, I don't, okay, so the apples on my cheeks really come in here, but I don't want my blush to pull my face down. And even if you, I don't know if you can see it, but my natural flush starts like over here anyways. And blush can like lift, it can make or break your look as well. So don't pull your blush in too close, otherwise you're going to pull your face back down, which undoes everything you just did with your contour. So I like to go like at the highest point of my apple. And I will just get the color into place. And then I'm going to go over here and do the same thing. And this is like such a natural color that it doesn't even show up that much, but it does have some gloss to it, so it gives some shine. And then I'm just going to blend it up towards my temple. Try not to get too much into your contour, otherwise you'll blend that away too. I tend not to like rough it up too much. I kind of pat it into place because I don't want to disturb my foundation and contour layer. So there's that. And illuminator, my favorite go-to, like hands down my favorite illuminator is from Too Faced. Let's see if I can find it. Here it is. Just because it's got something for whatever mood I'm in. So it's got subtle, glitter, and right in the middle, which we're going to use glow, which is right in the middle. Taking a fluffy, a smaller brush. Don't place it on your blush, go a little bit higher, and I usually don't bring my illuminator or highlighter, whichever you want to call it, further than the outer corner of my eye. I don't want it in here. Mostly because we tend to have a lot of texture and problems in this area, so you don't want to highlight that. You do want it to catch the light though, and lift your cheek, but just out here. A lot of people overdo it with illuminator and it doesn't even look nice anymore at some point. I'm very minimalist, if you can't tell, with my makeup, even though, I mean, minimalist compared to some of the beauty gurus that do these tutorials. And then I get some on my finger, and I'm going to go down my nose. If you have a nose you would like to contour, do this before, or contour your nose before you do this. I don't contour my nose all the time because it just depends on how poofy I feel that day. And then I still have some on my finger, and I will pat it up this way to illuminate. Actually, that's not going to do it. I usually like do it right about here. If you tend to be oily skinned, you probably would want to skip this step. But I have more flat, dry skin on my forehead, so I like to illuminate that as well. And so that's my face look. And as you can see, I have like some hyperpigmentation. Not hyperpigmentation, post-inflammatory pigmentation from like some acne breakouts. So even though I had put concealer on before, that mark is always going to be there. I would usually go in with like spot treating it with my concealer, but I'm not going to bother with that right now. You can look at my past videos and see how I do that with color correction. We're going to move on to the lips. With a red color, always, 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 always use a lip liner. It will bleed. There's a lot of colors out there that say that they will not bleed and feather. They all bleed and feather. I have not found a single one that does not. So I'm just going to line my lips here. And if you're not familiar too much with lining your lips, make sure the point of your pencil is super sharp. Do an X in the middle, just to make sure you're centering it. Feel free to overline your lip if you want a more luscious look, if you have thinner lips. I'm pretty okay with the shape of my lips, so I'm not gonna overline that much. But don't overline it too much, because then you start to look ridiculous. And then I like to blend my lip liner because I want it to be seamless when I put the actual color on. And I basically just take the color at the edges and blend it inwards. And I darken like these portions. Here, let me show you. Right here. I just fill in those inner corners for a contour effect. And then with the actual lip color, notice how I don't get too close to the edges, especially with red. And then I'll go in and use my brush to precisely carry this out. And this is how I avoid like making a huge mess on my lips, because just like that. Because red lipstick just goes everywhere so easily. So quiet. I can't talk in this part though. Okay, and then I will look at my lips. And mine are obviously, like, I don't think anybody's is unless they've actually had their lips done. My lips are not symmetrical, so I won't go too far, but I will try and make them as symmetrical as possible, especially when I'm wearing red lipstick. So I need to round this outer edge off. A little bit more. Sorry, my contact was drying out there for a minute. And then I think I'm pretty good with that. I'm gonna sharpen up this Cupid's bow area. All right, and I usually will pop on some gloss, but I don't like to overdo it. So, super obsessed with this clear vinyl gloss from Pat McGrath. I will just squirt some out onto my brush. I've noticed that if you actually pat a lip gloss onto your lips instead of like smearing it, you get a better effect. Because when you like go in and smash the lip gloss in, it kind of like gets smushed into the texture of your liquid lip or your matte or whatever, so it doesn't look as glossy. But if you're like patting it on, you like retain that maximum gloss, and it's so pretty. All right, so I'm pretty sure that's it. I'm like looking at my products because every time I end one of my videos, I'm like, oh, I forgot to do that. Yes. For those of you with bigger eyes, this is what, like, your waterline makes a huge difference. Like, I'll do it on one side. So I usually take a gel lining pen and I run it over my waterline. And you can see here, it's like a lot more dramatic and smoky. Whereas like here, you can see my eye is still kind of like wide and big. So this just kind of brings a little bit more drama to the look. That's why I like to do it. I will also tight line the top of my waterline as well, especially if I'm wearing fake lashes, which I don't often do, but it like really solidifies that lash line and it just makes them look so much thicker. But that is my classic red lip smoky eye look. I feel like the lips took me longer than the eyes, but it was like, it's super easy. Just do a gradual downwards motion. So your light color and then your next 3 colors is usually good enough. I do 4 because I'm just a little extra like that. But if you do like a light taupe brown and then a medium tone brown, and then either whatever you feel more comfortable with, either a super dark coal-like type brown or a black, but always try, I mean, obviously do whatever you're comfortable with, but I always recommend a cream for that like smoky portion down at the lash line because it just looks so much nicer. It definitely like looks a lot smokier. It retains its pigment of black, whereas I feel like when I try to smoke out a black eyeshadow, it turns gray. But if you use a cream black, even like what we use to fill our waterline, a gel liner, just like line your lash line and then take it out like a wing and then smudge it. It just looks a lot nicer and retains that black pigment. But I'm gonna go now wash my face off. I hope you guys enjoyed the tutorial. Hopefully it wasn't too long. Everyone say a prayer for me. I'm over being pregnant and I'm hoping I pop this baby out soon. I think I say it every tutorial. Misery loves company. But I will see you all tomorrow. I will be doing a skincare segment and we cover skin types and what type of cleanser you should be using. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to be covering next up in my routine. Well, we're just sticking to a basic skincare routine. So you're going to want to moisturize and then tone and or not moisturize, sorry, cleanse, tone, moisturize. So we'll probably be going over some toners and I'm probably going to talk about serums too. So if you have any skin conditions that you've always wanted to treat and you don't really know what the hell serums are or how to pick which one for your skin problems, you might want to join us on Sunday. So I will see you guys tomorrow. Love you. Bye.